I'm engaged. How do I get married? I'm your host, Kevin Dennis. In addition to leading the charge at Wedding IQ, I also run Fantasy Sound Event Services, a lighting and entertainment company based in Livermore, California, that I founded over 35 years ago. Each week on this podcast, we'll explore a new corner of the wedding planning so you can prepare for your I-dos without the stress. From budgeting to booking vendors to day of drama, let's talk smart wedding planning. All right, folks, welcome to another episode of Now That I'm Engaged, How Do I Get Married? So today we have the wonderful ladies from Pleasanton Event Rentals. We have Josina and Lexi with us. So can you guys tell us a little bit about yourselves, please?
Yeah, I'll go first. I'm Josina. I'm the sales manager here at Pleasanton Rentals. If you haven't heard about us before, we're an event rental company here in Livermore, California. But we service all over the South Bay, East Bay, North Bay, just kind of near and far. We've been around it'll be 29 years next year. But yeah, we provide all your full service rental needs.
And then I'm Lexi. I'm just one of the sales consultants at Pleasanton Event Rentals. So I just assist the clients and helping them make their table selections for weddings, holidays, the whole works.
And it's crazy because I'm old enough to remember when Pleasanton Rentals started. So,
and did it start in Pleasanton? Because it threw me for a loop when I learned it was in Livermore. I was like, wait.
Well, and I'll give you a little story. So Pleasanton Rentals actually also rented lawnmowers and all kinds of other stuff when they first started. And then Cresco bought that part of the business from them. And that's when Sherry moved out by the freeway out there, 580, 680. So anyway, that's how old I am. Anyway. All
wow.
Right. So today we're going to be talking. Yeah, I am old. We can make fun of it. So
that's something we consistently talk about on the podcast is Kevin's age.
So anyway, but today we're balancing style and strategy, event rental tips for a trendy yet timeless wedding. So we're going to get going here. And what is the first thing couples should know when starting the event rental process?
I mean, as simple as it sounds, the couples kind of need to know what they need for their wedding. Just because there's so many logistics and so many people involved, like your venue, your caterer, your vendors. It's really good to kind of get that information of what they offer and what they provide within their own services and stuff that they may need from us. Like sometimes with catering, there's equipment associated with food service that's separate from the tabletop items. So your caterer needs to communicate that to you. So you kind of know what you're getting yourself in for with the rentals.
Yeah. To add into that, I would say they would need to know, aside from their vendors and having an actual date, they would need to know and have a vision. So having an overall vision or color scheme or look will help navigate what type of rentals they need.
Yeah, so they really need to do their homework before they walk in then.
Definitely. Yeah, because even with catering in your venue, knowing the style of food service is going to affect your rental. Plated versus buffet. They have different requirements and so
having plates and forks and there's so much that goes into it that I don't think people think about.
Well, yeah, and every venue's different, every caterer's different, so it is just kind of getting all that put together. But does that happen a lot? Do a lot of couples come in and not realize that they needed to get all this information together before they contact you?
Yeah. I mean, we have couples come in that don't even have a date yet. They
that's crazy.
Engaged, last weekend, and they're already looking at rentals. But in order for us to provide, the best experience, with our, design clients and just with our rentals in general, we need to know, what the date is. So that way we could look into what the availability is going to be for that date. And then the next step, just again, the venue and then the caterers, what sort of rentals do I need to assist you with if you don't have, those vendors? But
it's funny you say that because we had a couple come into our open house, a handful of open houses ago that weren't even engaged yet. So they were planning it. And I'm like, you cart before the horse. Let's get the venue. Let's get, because it's like what we can do at one venue doesn't mean we can do that at another venue. So like, let's get some of the bigger stuff taken care of first.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure that is like maybe a common misconception when couples come into the office, like they don't realize that all of this needs to be completed beforehand. But do you see any other common misconceptions from couples when they come meet with you guys for the first time?
Recently, there's been like a little misconception for the DIY route for like weddings. Like people think it's better to kind of purchase their own items and then resell them after the event. But what's not really talked about is like the quality of the pieces that you're getting. Cause sometimes if you're able to purchase a linen like cheaper than what you're renting it for, quality is sacrificed. And also purchasing the items doesn't mean they come to you ready to just be put on a table. Like the linens need to be laundered and steamed and pressed, or they're going to look wrinkly. Any like food service items, those need to be sanitized because people are going to be eating off of them. And I mean, it's true though. But the rental companies take on that labor for you and make it a whole lot easier. And that way, after your wedding and you get back from your honeymoon, you don't come back to like 40 boxes of chargers in your living room because you have no them.
You got to Facebook Marketplace them now.
You're going to keep them for like 2 years and yeah.
Yeah. And to coincide with that too, a misconception is customers not realizing they don't have to launder the linens after use, or they don't have to wash off the plates and all the glassware. So it just makes it a lot more like easier and efficient for them when they're in the planning process, not having to worry about those type of logistics.
Yeah, and I guess like upon first glance, if you're like budgeting with your partner, you're like, yeah, let's sacrifice this one area, let's DIY. But I'm sure like they don't think about all those tiny little things that add up and just adds to the overall stress of the planning process.
I was just going to say laundering linens and like any dry cleaning you pay for like on your own is so expensive. So it's really nice that rental companies have that service like on the back end.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Can you walk us through like a typical process when like from beginning to end when it comes to like rentals to get people like, what should they expect?
Yeah. I mean, for our clients, like typically they'll reach out to us about like 6 to 8 months before their wedding date, which is what we recommend too, just because it keeps you up to date with like current trends. There's constantly new inventory coming in. So 6 to 8 months is like a really good sweet spot for them. Usually they reach out like by our website or phone and we'll get them scheduled for an appointment and gather as much information as we can. Like we'll get to know if like what venue they're getting married at, what caterer or florist they're working with, and just all their other vendors who are making the day come together. We love when they send us like inspiration boards because it gives us like a starting point for their appointment, kind of gives us like a little inside scoop of their mind and what they're envisioning. And then when they come in for their appointment, like typically what we'll start with is the base of the table. So we really like to start with like the linens, and then we'll from there add on like the chargers, glassware, flatware, napkins. Even sometimes like we'll put like a little centerpiece to kind of help them envision what it'll look like with their flowers. And then usually it's just like one appointment for them to select their items. Sometimes they'll come back with their florist to see what everything looks like together. But we always like give them a couple days to kind of talk it over with like their important people, like with their venue to make sure all the information and delivery schedules are aligning. And then once that's all kind of confirmed, they did their homework, we did ours. We'll get them reserved and take the deposit. And then from there, it's smooth sailing. And it's up until like 1 week before is when their final guest count is due. So just a big check mark off their list.
Does it help? Like I love your showroom. I'll be honest with you. It's so cool. And it's like I feel like it's a big playground for them to come in and, you know, try different linens and play with colors and all that kind of stuff. Like how long does couples usually spend doing that?
We typically give them up to like 30 to 45 minutes. It depends on how much homework we receive from them prior to their appointment.
So you guys can
get
prep
enough information about their event details prior to their arrival. We already have mock-ups already set out for them when they show up. And then we're at that point just like picking and choosing what they like and yeah, it's pretty, we try to make the process as seamless and like easy for them as possible, just because it is overwhelming when you first step into the showroom, because it is, a designer's playground. So we try to make it less complicated for them, as possible, for them to, make their decisions a lot easier.
Yeah, no, I mean, I remember the first time I came in there, I was like, wow, like, look at all these linens, all the colors. It's so pretty. And I love how you guys are always kind of updating the showroom based on what's trendy too. So it always looks really nice. But another question I wanted to ask you guys, and this may seem kind of broad, but of course, like, our main goal of the podcast is we want this to be a tool for engaged couples. So we want them to listen and just know what to do or what to avoid. So again, maybe kind of a broad question, but what are some common mistakes that couples make pretty consistently when coming in, and how can they avoid that?
Well, I'd say one that we already kind of touched on was not having your date booked.
Yeah. Girl, you would not believe, though. We have like said that time and time again on this podcast, is like the first thing you guys need to do is just book a damn date. Like, just do it. Like, it's going to help the entire rest of the process. So yeah, I mean, it's crazy that has to be said so many times.
No, and you can't even like look into see if the items are available, because we're like, when do you need them? And yeah, so that's definitely one. Get your venue secured. At least your venue secured. Hopefully caterer, but we'll take just the venue if that's all you have.
The date and the venue.
Yeah. Date and venue. And then
it's a good start.
Yeah.
And then I think having some sort of like color scheme or like design, like palette, just some sort of vision. Yeah, like just having a overall vision put together before coming in, it would be like ideal and easier for them as well.
Yeah, just like even a general idea of what you like. Like,
or what pieces you need, like, maybe you're just coming in for linen, or maybe you're just coming in for chairs, or, just having a vague idea of what you are looking for, or, or want to include in your event or wedding.
Yeah, it makes sense. It just spend a little time on, the apps that are out there, like, Pinterest and The Knot, and there's a lot of good stuff out there to get you an idea of going.
Yeah.
So
another like common mistake too would be coming in too early. Like we have clients coming in now to plan their 2026 wedding. But they don't realize that, some items that they're in love with now may be discontinued by the time they get married, or unavailable due to, the previous event season. Also, we're constantly, like Lexi said, we're constantly adding products to our inventory that are trending. So, at that point, if you're planning 2 years out, then you may miss the opportunity to see or view, the newer pieces that we'll be having. So we definitely encourage, anywhere from 6 to 9 months out to get a full idea of what that current inventory entails and, what trends, we'll have in stock at that time.
Yeah, because the trends are constantly changing, and that's, and like the colors, the Pantone color of the year came out today, I felt they went really neutral
something
on
like
that.
Okay. Bro, that is my color though. I am always wearing brown.
It's your year next year, August.
It's like bright orange, and I was like, "This is Pantones."
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't that last year. It was like a coral, pinky, orange color.
All right.
Anyway,
so moving on. All right. What are some important questions couples should ask the rental company before booking or during booking?
I mean, I think an important question, and it kind of goes across the board for all vendors, but just ask about like any important deadlines, like when you're supposed to submit like your final guest count to us. And then another one is like cancellation policies. Kind of like bouncing off of what Joe said, like if somebody is very adamant about coming in now for their 2026 wedding and getting the things secured, then the new trends and styles come out and then they want to switch things up. But we'll be as like flexible as we're able to, but it takes the items like out of our inventory. We're holding them for almost like a year for their wedding date. We can't rent them to other people. So if they want to switch things out, there's sometimes like cancellation fees or those. And I think everybody should just be very clear with whoever they're contracting with, like rental companies to every vendor that's servicing your wedding.
Yeah. And that's what it's funny you said that, because that's something that we tell a lot of our couples is we're inventory based. And so once you book it that day, it belongs to you. It doesn't belong to us. And therefore we can't sell it to anybody. So if you decide to change your whole design to go somewhere else, then we've been holding all this pieces and now we can't sell it to someone else. So that's why we want you to be really, take the time. We're happy, like we tell them on our end too, we're happy to do as many estimates as you need to just get you to that point where you're happy. And I'm sure the same is for you guys. You'd rather them be committed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, aside from, inquiring what the cancellation, restocking, any of those reduction terms are, another thing to ask for clients to us is, how many people or how many, products they need to reserve for. So we always encourage the absolute max of what their guest count is, because it's usually easier to reduce that quantity as their date gets nearer than it is to add on last minute. Because all the rentals are, like you're saying, like it's all first come, first serve. Once you reserve it, it's out of the inventory and locked in for that date. But then should you decide and add 20 people, the week of your wedding, all that extra inventory could have been taken up by other events that were taking place that same weekend. So reserving or inquiring for your max guest count for whatever, any occasion maybe, and then, scaling down from there.
That's so smart.
Yeah,
Makes
people are hesitant too. They're always so hesitant too because they think it's a huge like dollar amount. But and we only take an initial, reservation fee. We're not asking for you to, pay for all of those people right at immediately booking. But the goal is always to see your guest list go down a little bit anyway. So
and that happens. It's pretty normal.
Yeah.
But it, like that's such a good point. Like if you say, "Oh, I only have 150 people coming to my wedding," next thing you know, there's 175. But now all my pretty cobalt blue, cup or glass is gone. I can't get it. I'm gonna have to mix colors and do all kinds of crazy stuff. And totally. That's genius. Thank you.
So I feel like we've touched a lot on like the strategy for couples when they come in, just some basic tips that they can keep in mind when they're reaching out. So we kind of want to get a little bit more into the style of the event. So trends, going for a timeless look. So what do you guys think the key is for creating a trendy look that still feels cohesive and elegant? Because I think sometimes couples get into a situation where they go almost too trendy. And then, 10 years later, they're like, oh my God, why are we all wearing chevron dresses? So what is the kind of the balance of having like a few key trendy elements, but still having a timeless look?
Well, I kind of live off of a very minimalist, aesthetic. And I feel like that's always trending. You could select a trendy like theme or color scheme and elevate that design to make it more sophisticated or elegant by upgrading the linen option or the texture. So, if you're going like a black and white wedding, and you're just selecting white poly and a black poly napkin, a good way to kind of make that a little more sophisticated and elegant is going like like a luxury velvet linen or velvet napkin. Just switching up the textures a little bit to elevate the design, adding a smoke press, goblet. Like those
I
are,
love those ones.
yeah. So like, I think it's just a matter of, selecting the right palette that's in trend, and then selecting the timeless pieces. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, like if you have a really strong foundation with like great textiles and texture, and it's very interesting to the eye as your base, then you can add in your fun touches and just build off of that. And then in 10 years, you'll love it still.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't want to jump ahead too much, but what are some trends you guys are kind of seeing in the rental biz right now?
What are you seeing? What do you have people asking for?
I mean, during the appointments, I do see like a lot of like black and white, like that is the popular trend right now, because
and it's timeless.
It is. It is.
No, it is. Yeah.
So that's really what couples are super interested in right now, and either having like a white base and with like black accent pieces with the plates and the chargers or the smoky glasses, or some people are being super luxe and having like the black velvet linens and just building off of there, having all the white florals, and it just both you really can't go wrong with. And then the photographs are gonna just kind of just be like a little time capsule.
Yeah, we're seeing and it having a lot of inquiries about tenting again. So a lot of people wanting the big clear top tent, in the middle of 90-degree summer weather for that like aesthetic, right? Draping is making a big comeback. A lot of like ceiling drapery or wall drapery, just to kind of fill up a room or fill up a space. We're seeing a lot of trends making their, they cycle, right? Trend cycle. So a lot of previous trends are kind of making their way back. The classic white dance floor, string bistro lighting, but a lot of outdoor inquiries with, your luxurious clear top tents. But that's what we're seeing for 2025 for now.
It is so pretty though when it's, but it is not fun when it's 98 degrees in Livermore. So yeah. It is pretty.
So colors kind of is making a way back too.
I agree. Yeah.
Colors. So I mean, aside from black and white being a staple and a timeless, design scheme,
I like want that like moody, sophisticated kind of vibe. So like having that like elegant pop of color. Like I've been seeing like some like stormy kind of colors be brought in.
I guess that works.
That's fun.
I guess that works for Mocha Mousse coming out next year. So
no, it kind of does.
Yep.
We can get shirts made.
I know we haven't touched on this yet, but Miss Lexi is a recently engaged lady.
Woohoo!
Have you thought about your wedding colors yet, or what rentals maybe you're bringing in?
Well, I need to do my homework and still book a venue. I definitely played around with some stuff. I don't know.
You have a whole playground in front at your disposal.
I know.
Yeah. Either like that black and white vibe or an olive green velvet is kind of focus.
It is very pretty.
Yeah.
But also, I think, doesn't time of year dictate some of this stuff too?
It definitely.
Like if we're getting married in the fall compared to the winter, I mean, I feel like some of that changes a lot of the color as well.
Yeah. So. And I'm thinking probably fall or winter. So that's why I'm like, give me some moody pieces.
Well, green's perfect for that. It kind of extends from fall into winter.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then the velvet, like it feels kind of like winter. Like you, I don't know, you think of like
heavy, warm
textures. Yeah.
Love it. All right. So how can couples strike a balance between trendy and timeless pieces or styles?
I think kind of like off of what Josina said too, just having that really strong like foundation of your design, having a very nice like quality linen, like with the material it's made from, whether it's like a texture on it or a pattern on it, just having a really strong base linen. And then kind of going with those timeless pieces. Like, sure, there's different like types of chargers and those trends may change, but having a charger is a very classic staple piece for weddings. Like etched or like etched glassware, I'd honestly say, is a really classic staple. And there are like different ways you can incorporate trends, like in your napkin fold. Like right now, bows are trending, and in our showroom we have our napkins tied with a napkin ring and to make a little bow, and it's so cute. So that's a way you can incorporate trendy pieces. In stationery too, you can have a strong base and add like a really whimsical kind of stationery design for like the place charter menu.
Yeah, I mean, and then incorporating or tying in the timeless like effect would be, you know, selecting the right gold rim or the right gold glass charger, which may be like the gold rim charger, or selecting the right glassware. You know, like you were saying, like the Melody clear cut. But yeah, just tying in those timeless pieces to your trendy aesthetics is a great way of how you could incorporate the two together.
Love it.
And Kevin and I were kind of talking about this a little bit before we hopped on, and we kind of came up with our own guesses for this. But what pieces do you guys think will never go out of style and have just kind of stuck around all these years?
I was actually just telling Lexi this, even from when I first started here, I feel like the checkered black and white dance floor like has always been a hit, you know, year round, seasonally, indoor, outdoor. I mean, yeah, that hasn't changed that I've noticed, or just chargers, you know. Before I worked in the wedding industry, we never really used, you know, like chargers, or I didn't see it around or pop up, you know, when I had first gotten married. But yeah, chargers and like the checkered dance floor. What else were you thinking?
I'd say like the etched glass, right, too, like our Melody cut glasses. I have seen those used at so many events of all different like aesthetics, and it's just a timeless piece. So it kind of goes with everything.
What were your guys' guesses?
I was gonna say we're so wrong. It's so funny. So I'm like bone, you know, white bone china, you know, like that. I feel like we'll never go out of style. And then I said Shivari chairs. So I'm way off. So
no, but it's true. Like, and I swear, like, once you see this, you will never unsee it. But anytime I'm watching a movie or a TV show, I'm like, oh, look, a Shivari chair. Oh, look, a Shivari chair. Like, any, like, wedding-related or event-related scene in a movie, they're everywhere. Like, I cannot unsee it ever. Like, all different types of colors and, you know, textures, wood styles, but Shivaris just live on forever. So
I feel like as, you know, working in the industry, you start noticing that like everywhere, like movie, or you're at a restaurant and you're like, oh, the fork's in the wrong place, or like the napkin is this kind of texture, or now, you know, ever since you
even in like Gossip Girl, like I don't know if you all watch Gossip Girl, but the amount of rentals that they use, it's insane.
Well, they are always throwing parties. There's events and stuff, so like makes sense.
Always hosting. You're so right.
Yeah, but yeah, you totally notice and compare all those details. You know, now that you know we're all a part of the industry that you would have never considered before.
I was going to say, I drive my wife nuts when we are a guest at someone's wedding, because I can't sit there without picking the entire wedding apart. And like, I mean, from like flowers to rentals to why is that person doing that? And I can't. She's always like, go get a drink, relax. Will you stop? I just can't. Because I mean, I go to work and that we work at weddings, you know, and so that's what we do. And to sit there and be a guest is so impossible for me. I can't do it.
I can't do it. It's okay.
Yeah, that's why when we're out too, like I prefer that no one ever asks me what I think about, you know, the details of the event.
Oh, I'll keep that in mind.
Because I see so many, you know, like anywhere from like 20 to 75, you know, a week. Like it's just, there's a lot for me to compare to and nitpick. Don't ask me.
Well, I've already made that mistake. Josina and I were in Vegas a couple weeks ago for a conference, and we're sitting down for lunch, and my first question was, Josina, what do you think of these plates? What do you think of this utensil? And they're both staring at me like, we're clocked out, girl.
Shush your mouth, August. All right. So we like to wrap it up with kind of your top tips. And I'll start with mine because I always like to get mine out of the way so I don't have to make up one if you guys say mine. But mine was what I know. What Josina said, though, is like, I think that's such a good tip is, so if we think we might have 200 people come to our wedding, then let's start looking at 200 pieces and make sure that it can accommodate it for our wedding date. So I think that's so important. And that's the biggest tip I took out of this. So thank you guys for that.
What do you think?
I would say my tip for newly engaged couples is just make sure you do your homework, get your date, get your venue, ask them the questions. You just put your deposit down with them. You can ask them a couple questions about what they offer. Just get all your homework done before you come in because it'll make it a lot easier and a more enjoyable. And we're the fun part. So we want to be the fun part. So just do your homework and then you get to play.
There you go. How about you, Josina?
My tip would be for couples to define what is trendy to them and what is timeless to them. Because it means and looks and feels different for each type of client. So, I think starting off a consultation in a design consult is for, to figure out what the clients define as both trendy and timeless.
Like it. August?
Well, I mean, I'm in the boat you were trying to get yourself out of, bro.
I know.
No.
That's why I go first.
No, I don't know if we touched on this, and ladies, let me know if you feel this is an accurate tip. But maybe, of course, kind of piggybacking off of Josina, defining what is trendy versus timeless and what you really want for your day. But I say don't be afraid to go trendy if you really, really like it. Because kind of Lexi said, bows are huge right now, but bows are freaking cute, okay? And I've seen some weddings. There was one at Palm Event Center earlier this year where they really leaned into the bows. But oh my gosh, it was so cutesy. It just had the best vibe. And I mean, I really don't think looking back, they would feel any type of regret about it because it really was just so cute. So I think if you really do connect with the trend and you feel like it speaks your vision, don't be afraid to jump on that.
Yeah. To piggyback off that, I agree. That goes with your Pinterest boards. Once you figured out a design or something that you like, stop looking. Commit to that because then you're going to go all over the place in the rest of your planning.
Right. Yeah, it's funny you say that. I tell couples all the time, once you make a decision, put on blinders and don't look at anything else because you're going to be, because that happens so much, just even at our place. It's like, I just saw what you guys did on Instagram and I want to change my whole wedding. And I'm like, you're in. Yeah. It's like, no, let's keep the blinders on. We've made decisions. Let's move forward. So
exactly.
Well, and Kevin, we just talked about that with Meg on our last episode because she talked about picking out a dress. She was our first bride that we've had on the pod. But she said, she found the dress. She felt pretty in it. It looked great. So she just bought it. And she was like, I just didn't want to plague myself with, decision fatigue or just overwhelming myself with a million other options because, of course, there always are. She's like, I found something I was happy with and I moved on. Check. And I think, couples just need to be confident in their decisions and know that, they had that gut feeling at one point. Just keep that feeling and don't stress yourself more than you need to.
Exactly. And we're here to reassure them, as experts, to reassure them that they're making the right decision. If they were, if we didn't feel confident in the selections that they made, then, I think it's our duty to advise them, what alternatives or other options we would recommend.
Love it. All right. So one thing we usually end with is we ask our guests what's their favorite part of a wedding. So we'll make Lexi go first since she's the newly engaged. And I like to pick on Lexi.
Yeah, I say like the part that we do because that's the fun part, like designing your wedding day. Or does it have to be about being at the event?
No, it's just anything. Yeah, anything.
This part, like making your table setting, it's just like it's the most creative part. I kind of feel like that you can do for your wedding, besides like choosing your decor if you're going like DIY and having decor elements instead of flowers or something. But you get to choose your colors. You get to kind of envision like what it's going to look like as a guest there, what your sweetheart table is going to look like. And I don't know, you get to kind of spoil yourself. Like I always tell couples splurge on the sweetheart table because you're sitting there. Everyone's going to be visiting you. And it's like the most photographed one. And they spend so much money on like catering for their guests and treating everybody to such a great night. The food bill's on them. The bar bill's on them. To treat yourself a little and have a pretty place setting.
I was just going to say it's their first statement, like as a couple. So it's good. So sorry, Josina.
Oh, no, I was just saying like the place settings, like, you know, how Lexi was saying, you get to be so involved in that design process. I mean, selecting all of those rentals for all of their guests. I mean, it is the one thing that all the guests see when they first sit down. So it is nice to kind of be involved in that process.
It's always fun to watch guests walk into a wedding and they all have their phones out and they're all just like taking photos crazy because I'm in my head, I'm always like, well, this couple did a good job because, you know, everyone is in awe and they want to really get those photos. So anyway. All right. So Josina, what's your tip? Or I mean, not tip. What's your favorite part of a wedding?
Maybe the open bar.
There you go, girl.
Correct answer.
Open bar,
So
not cash bar, but open bar.
Yeah. So if you want to invite Josina to your wedding, you need to make sure you have an open bar, Lexi.
Or at least a welcome drink, you know.
Yeah. So something to get us going.
Yeah.
So, all right, ladies. So how will our listeners get in touch with you?
Well, they could find us on Instagram. That's where we get a lot of our organic followers and draw inspiration from. So Pleasanton Rentals. And then our website, pleasantonrentals.com, which has our direct contact information, number, and email to connect with our event consultants.
And if
Perfect.
You can just give us a call too. We're here.
You know, everything comes around, so we'll be back on the phones again before you know it. So, all right, ladies, I hope we made this painless and easy for you guys to be here because we enjoyed having you, and we hope that you'll come back somewhere down the road again. But thank you both for being here. Happy holidays, because we are close to the end of the year. Happy New Year. Yep, we look forward to it. So thank you both.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Now That I'm Engaged, How Do I Get Married podcast, brought to you by Fantasy Sound Event Services. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this episode. Please get in touch with me if you have a topic you would like us to cover, or if you are struggling with your wedding planning. Please be sure to submit a question at podcast@fantasysound.com. I encourage you to check out our other episodes on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you're a fan, we'd love if you would subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. It helps others find our podcast so they can learn from our guests too. And to everyone listening, happy wedding planning.